I wolf down breakfast as I make my way through the Davis Channel to Rock Sound, Great Eleuthera. Love that watercolor. As promised, there's plenty of room to anchor. I'll just pick a spot that looks good and jam her up into the wind and drop. As usual, the first order of business is taking care of necessities. That is, finding food and water. This looks like a dinghy dock in quotes here. Most of these guys have their boats beached. Now, there is a ladder. Do we trust it? Yeah, maybe. High tide. Yeah, that looks pretty sturdy. Yeah, it's probably much easier at high tide. Tide comes up a couple of feet, and that should be if there's a water tap across from the street. The cruising guidebook says there's a water tap, though across the street. Nonetheless, I'm snooping around to see if I can spot one here. Yeah, I don't see water taps anywhere. Well, the selection was good, but that was $65 for that. Oranges, turkey burgers, chicken, some vegetables, and buns. So, island prices. So I managed to replenish my fresh food supply, and the search for fresh water, however, continues. Wild Orchid Restaurant looks a little more promising. And indeed, there's a water tap just under the veranda here. So, as a courtesy, I decide to eat lunch at Wild Orchids. Pay the rent, so to speak. For all the people in Minnesota and North Dakota. Yeah. Looks like a pretty good burger. I've spoken before about way back in 1977, 78 during the winter when my father, who was a school teacher, took a sabbatical. And he took my mom, myself, and my sister on our Contest 31 windrows, and we made our way all the way down through the Bahamas, and I remember we got as far as San Salvador. And though I can't remember, I'm pretty sure we were in Great Eleuthera. However, I can't remember it at all. One thing I do remember, though, for sure, is the music that was on the radio at the time. And I remember my sister had the old transistor radio. And if I remember, she was 11 or 12 years old at the time, so she was right around the age where she was starting to tune into popular culture. And hearing that Bee Gees song reminded me of it was a guy with his daughter, and they were on a powerboat, and we had a radio net going, and I can't remember exactly what happened. They had engine trouble or something, and so all the people in the harbor were on the radio, and well, probably all of us were tuning in and listening to the unfolding drama here of the man with the powerboat trying to make his way back to port, and it still is now in the yachting circles. Is it's us po folk who just have the small little scruffy sailboats, and the rich people who own the powerboats, which is of course what my sister was interested in, and if I recall, my mother as well, and so they were eagerly anticipating the arrival of this rich man in in a shiny, big shiny powerboat. And I remember they were mighty disappointed when the boat actually showed up, and it was a very plebeian craft. I remember my sister also had a tape player, and if I remember, it was one of those, I'll try to see if I can dig up a picture of it. It was one of those old cassette tape players that was kind of like, kind of shaped, just a small shoebox shaped. And the little hatch opened up and you put the cassette tape in. And I remember that she had a cassette of Fleetwood Mac, the original Fleetwood Mac.
You can take me to paradise, and then again you can be cold as ice. I'm over my head, oh, but it sure feels nice.
And I remember when we were also south, we fell in company with two other boats. And I remember one was named Gale B, which was a Erasmus 35. And the other was Ishtar, which was a Luters 33. And I remember on Ishtar it was Ned and Linda. They were a younger couple. And then Rod and Gale were on the Gale B. And they were, if I remember, they were retired. They were kind of late 50s, early 60s. And I remember Ned used to constantly tease Rod. Rod was kind of a short guy, and he also kind of looked like Curly from the Three Stooges there. And I remember one time he hailing him on the radio there. He was hailing Curly B, Curly B. And another time I remember he was holding up his radio, and we were in some anchorage there and playing that Randy Newman song. So he was just relentless.
Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason to live.
And then the one song I remember just vividly from that time, and I had to do a Google and YouTube search. And so I typed in, because I just remembered this chorus lyric line, something about a sentimental gentle wind, and went through numerous searches. Finally, I found the song, which was written by Bob Welch, who was one of the original members of Fleetwood Mac. And the song was called Sentimental Lady.
All of the things that they say are very sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one. All I need is sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental.
For a short sail, about 20 miles, where I'm going to go anchor off another nice sandy beach, watch the sun go down. Consider supporting this channel by becoming a patron. As a patron, you will be able to view my videos free of ads. You will also be able to leave comments, ask questions, and message me directly. You can become a patron for as little as $5 a month.